There is a stretch of desert near the Sonora line that they do not put on the maps. We call it Sector Coyote 9, but unofficially, it's just called the Bone Trail. The new guys think it's a joke, that we're trying to haze them with stories about ghosts and chupacabras and other bullshit like that. Let me tell you from personal experience, it ain't a joke. The weather on that stretch is harsh. You run into the craziest fuckers you never thought could actually exist, and to top it off, you gotta deal with cartel bullshit and all of the politics from the higher-ups. Just to give a bit more context before I start ranting, my name is Agent Darrow. Not my real name, obviously. I'm not that fucking stupid. I have been doing this border patrol shit for around 20 years now. Long enough to stop believing in coincidences, and long enough to know that not everything that walks on two legs is human. Most nights, the worst you see is dehydration, the occasional overdose. Sometimes the coyotes leave people behind. I've seen little girls with sunburned lips and men with black tongues swollen out of their mouths. That is bad, but it's not the worst. The worst are the ones that disappear. That is why I was running night ops out in Sector Coyote 9 last Tuesday. I was paired with Rodriguez. He's a young guy, solid instincts, but still had a bit too much empathy in him. That softness gets you killed out here, especially in Coyote 9. We were responding to a drone flag which was unidentified heat signatures near a ridge known as Blind Man's Bluff. It's about 6 miles from the nearest road with no vehicle access. It is just miles of dead rock and mesquite scrub, riddled with old burial mounds. Some cartels use them, but most of those graves were dug long before any smuggler wore tactical gear. Nobody talks about who is in them. We are not supposed to. Looks like free targets, Rodriguez said, squinting at the FLIR readout in the cab. Walking in a straight line, no deviation. You think they're armed? No packs, no water. That is a death march, I told him. But they are not carrying anything, and that's what bothers me. By the time we hiked to the ridge, the drone had lost them. Static, signal dropout. It's common enough when you are near old mine shafts. Usually magnetic interference, they say. We pressed on. The desert out there does not look like sand. It's hard pan and rock, mixed with caliche and bones, either animal or otherwise. I have found teeth in those gullies. Spines sometimes. Sometimes I've even uncovered half-buried vertebrae that look polished like ivory, like someone has been gnawing them clean. Rodriguez knelt down near one of the paths, examining boot prints. These are fresh, he whispered. No more than an hour old. That was the first red flag. Heat signatures were gone, but the prints were new. Not just fresh, but they were pristine. From what we could see, there were no drag marks, no side steps, just clean boots moving in perfect unison, dead straight. Who the hell moves like that after hours in 108-degree sun? We followed them, obviously, not like we had a choice. We couldn't just say, yeah, this one seems a bit too weird for me. Sorry, boss, I'll do my job another time. About a mile in, the smell hit us. You ever smell cooked meat mixed with rot? Not just death, something worse. It was something wet and seared. Rodriguez gagged and pulled his shirt up over his face. I didn't bother. You can't filter that smell out. It soaks into your tongue. The prints led us to a clearing between two dry washes. In the center of it was a figure, face down, completely naked, skin split from the heat, muscles twitching. Rodriguez moved forward, hand on his sidearm. Is he alive? Don't touch him, I said. But it was too late. Rodriguez knelt, reaching out to check a pulse, and the man moved. It wasn't a twitch, but more like a lunge. There was no mistaking it. His body snapped upright like a puppet, yanked by strings. No warning, no build-up. Just dead still to upright, eyes open, mouth locked in a scream with no sound. He was covered in burns, but this was very clearly not sunburn. It was more like contact burns. It was like someone had pressed hot metal into his chest and left it there. Geometric shapes, circles, lines, spirals carved into the skin with precision. His eyes were wrong. Fully dilated, but not from drugs. They looked flat, not like a human's. Like someone had drilled holes into the back of his sockets and scooped out whatever gave them color. Rodriguez fell back, yelling into his comm. "We need evac. I've gotta..." "He's not responding. Jesus Christ, he's not breathing. He's not blinking, he's just..." The man looked right at me. I mean directly at me, no mistaking it. It was like he knew me or something. Like he had been waiting for me. And then he started repeating one word over and over, whispering it between clenched teeth, but I could not make out what it was. Just over and over again, mumbling something like he was rabid or I don't know what. I pulled Rodriguez back. The man did not follow. He just sat there, naked, skin peeling, repeating whatever he was saying until it slurred further into nonsense. He did it until blood began trickling from his nose and he collapsed face down again, like a machine powering down. That should have been the end of it, but Rodriguez was shaking. I looked down and realized why. He was holding something in his hand. It was a badge. It was an old Border Patrol badge, rusted, caked in dirt. The nameplate had been filed off, but it was definitely real. Still had the number etched into the back. I made him drop it, told him we would report it at the next outpost, but I knew we wouldn't. We never do. We dragged the man, if you could call him that, back to the rendezvous point. He didn't speak again, didn't move, but when we hoisted him onto the gurney, I noticed something under the arch of his foot. 3 small puncture scars, perfectly round. We got back to the base at 0300. Med team did not ask questions, just wheeled him into quarantine and shut the door like they had done this before. Rodriguez filed his incident report. I didn't. That night, I went back to the trailer. I peeled off my gear and sat in the dark for a long time. I pulled out the badge I told Rodriguez to drop. I'd pocketed the thing before he ever noticed, and I recognized the serial number. It belonged to a guy named Halloran. Went missing in 2009 during a solo op in the same sector. They said he wandered into the desert and never came back. That night I did not sleep. I couldn't. I sat in the dark of my trailer, staring at the old badge in my hand. Halloran's number rusted into the back, like a gravestone rubbing. By morning, I had convinced myself it was heat stroke, hallucinations, maybe cartel torture, but I wasn't really sure anymore. My gut said I had seen something never meant for my eyes. Not supernatural, just wrong. The kind of wrong that comes from men doing things they should not. If this was cartel, this had to be the worst, most brutal thing they had ever done out here. I was halfway through my second cup of burnt coffee when Rodriguez knocked. He looked hollow and pale, not tired, just drained. "I couldn't sleep," he said. He nodded. "I need to go back. I need to see it again." I should have told him no. Should have reported him unfit for duty. Instead, I grabbed my vest and rifle. We hiked back to Blind Man's Bluff. Same exact ridge, same dry wash and stink of burnt flesh, though the wind had shifted a little. The tracks were gone, scrubbed by the wind or something else. But as we got closer to where we had found the body, we noticed something new. A shallow hole, not big, maybe the size of a dog. Rodriguez stepped forward and knelt by it. The dirt looked turned, like someone had clawed their way out. "Jesus," he whispered. "This was not here yesterday." I scanned the area. Keep your weapon ready. We followed a trail of disturbed ground, subtle indentations that did not belong to boots or paws. Whatever made them was dragging itself. The tracks were frantic and not a planned path. The trail led us to an old tunnel shaft a few clicks east. Abandoned mining territory, technically off limits. The border fence out here was non-existent, just a wire line and wishful thinking. We entered without speaking. The air inside was cold. Not desert cold, subterranean cold. The kind that felt like it had never been warm before. The smell is what hit us first. Not the rot from yesterday. This was different, sterile, an industrial stink that did not belong in an old mine. Rodriguez clicked his flashlight on and swept it across the walls. Metal. The tunnel walls were not just rock anymore. They had been lined with plating. It wasn't recent now. It looked more like old steel, riveted into the stone. It was stained with rust, but the lines were clean. Someone had built this. We moved deeper. At about 30 meters in, we found the first cage. It was bolted to the wall. Heavy iron bars, reinforced with chain. Inside was a mattress, rotted and torn, with a pair of leather restraints still looped through metal eyelets drilled into the frame. Rodriguez turned to me. Is this cartel? All I could mutter back was a short, I don't know. We kept going. More cages followed, 4 in total, each one identical, each one with the same restraints. The smell of ammonia and iron was stronger here, almost unbearable. Then we heard it. A scraping sound far back in the tunnel. It was slow and deliberate. No footsteps, nothing like that. Again, more like a dragging sound. We froze and killed our lights instantly. My hand went to my sidearm, and I whispered, "Backtrack, quiet." Rodriguez did not move. His eyes were fixed ahead. We need to go. He didn't listen. Instead, he stepped forward, raising his flashlight, and clicked it on. The beam hit the far wall, and something moved. It was a man. At least, it used to be. He was naked and filthy looking. His skin was blackened in places, sloughing off in wet patches like moldy fruit. Puncture scars ran down his spine in rows, surgical and symmetrical. His fingers were raw to the bone with the nails torn off. The dragging sound came from a thick chain looped around his ankle, the other end still bolted to a cage wall behind him. But what made my stomach lurch was not his condition. It was his face. It was the same fucking guy from yesterday. Looked like him, at least. He had the same exact fucking face, except younger and cleaner somehow, maybe. Not dramatically younger, but a few less wrinkles. His eyes were not empty anymore. They were alert. He looked right at us, then whispered, voice hoarse and dry, "They made me." Rodriguez stepped forward, whispering, "What did they do to you?" Halloran smiled, or what looked like Halloran anyway. His lips were cracked, dried blood flaked off of his teeth. All he could muster was a soft, "They needed bodies, live ones." I grabbed Rodriguez's arm, but he pulled free. What the hell is he talking about? Rod, we're leaving now. I need to know. What did they do to him? What is this place? Halloran's body spasmed, like a seizure. His mouth opened wide, far wider than it should have. A scream pushed through, but it wasn't sound. It was pressure, like something behind the air. Lights snapped off, both our flashlights, gone. Rodriguez started screaming, not words, just raw animal terror. I drew my weapon and fired toward the chain, 5 shots. Muzzle flash lit the walls, and in that flicker, I saw something move behind Halloran. Something impossibly tall, looking in the dark like a shadow detached from any source. It had way too many limbs. The shape of it made no anatomical sense, but it had symmetry. Rodriguez stopped screaming. Just silence. My ears were ringing hard. I swear, I heard something come right up to my face and whisper, but I could not hear the word. But I unmistakably felt the hot breath on my face. I ran. I did not look back. I did not check if Rodriguez was behind me. I just sprinted until the sunlight hit my face, and I collapsed on the rocky floor outside the shaft. When I caught my breath and opened my eyes, I was alone. No sign of Rodriguez at all. I walked 3 miles back to the ATV drop before I got signal. I didn't call it in. I just requested a Code 9 pickup, agent recovery, no contact. Standard protocol when comms fail in rough terrain. I didn't say a word about Rodriguez. I wanted to wait until I was back in person and I could explain it properly. Back at the station, I handed in my gear, claimed heat exhaustion. They logged it, no questions asked. You stay in this job long enough, they stop asking why your eyes look the way they do after a shift. I was dehydrated, dusty, and 2 hours late. That is all the system sees. I showered in silence. I did not look in the mirror. When I changed into civvies, I wrapped the badge in an evidence bag and sealed it. I logged it as item recovered during field patrol, potential missing agent ID. That way it ends up in the database, not in a garbage can. When the incident report came in, I kept it clean. Agent Rodriguez, last seen during joint patrol near Coyote 9 sector. Visual contact lost after entry into unauthorized mining area. Due to unstable terrain and potential criminal activity, I exited to request backup. No further contact made, awaiting search and rescue team deployment. I did not mention Holleran, but I told them about the cages, that it could be cartel activity. I wasn't sure if they would believe it, but I had to tell them what I saw. If cartel were running experiments on people or torturing them out there, then it needed to be dealt with. I probably only saw Holleran's face because of dehydration, dreamt the whole thing up. There was probably just a dead body, and my mind just couldn't cope in that moment. The shift supervisor did not raise an eyebrow, just signed the report and handed me a Gatorade. Rodriguez got added to the missing list. They'll do a half-assed search sweep, maybe send a drone or two, then file it under desert fatality. Disturbingly, it happens all too often, and it's scary how quick they are to dismiss it or write it off. I mean, shit, that is another person with a whole life, and they just don't give a fuck. But yeah, guy gets turned around, dies in a ravine, animals take what's left. Case closed as far as they're concerned. A week later, HQ sent a condolence memo to his family, standard form. They asked if I had anything to add. I just said no. That is basically it now. Now I patrol, I shut up, I keep my head down, I write my reports in clean, careful language, and every now and then, when I'm driving that lonely stretch near Blind Man's Bluff, I speed the fuck up, and I keep going. There are some things out here that humans cannot explain. I just want to get on with my job and with my life. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. I have told this story years ago now, but it's been bothering me recently. 20 years old, overnight security guard, large business building, only open at night to like 2 to 3 dudes who work nights to talk to their Chinese business partners or cleaning staff who leaves by 11 p.m. This particular night, there is only one guy, same guy I see every night. He works on the 8th floor. Cleaning staff is gone as it is 1 a.m. Do the rounds time. This means I take the elevator to the 45th floor and walk each hallway and inspect the fire escapes. Takes about an hour or so in total. I am on the 23rd floor. My coworker is stationed in my seat on the 1st floor, and the only other soul in the building is on the 10th floor. I make my way to the 23rd floor's bathroom. Oh neat, a fancy powder room. With a couch. I sit down to check my phone for a minute. Opens phone, attempts to look at text message. Instantly gripped with intense sleep paralysis, but I am fucking wide awake. I feel myself lose control of my body. My phone falls to the floor and shit goes real dark for me, like black. I see nothing but hear incredible screaming from every direction, getting closer rapidly. Literally, just trying to move really hurts, like when your legs get pins and needles, but my entire body. I try and stand but just fall to the floor on my knees. Scramble for my radio and baton. I do this fucked up crawl/run out of the powder room and back into the hallway. I am like wildly looking around, like there is no way those voices came from nowhere. I took the elevator down to the 21st floor and continued my work faster than ever. I remained a skeptic, especially since at the time I posted on 4chan and was told that sleep paralysis is normal. Maybe I didn't know I was tired, suggested someone else. I myself shrugged it off, until more shit happened. Several weeks later, like a dream, I almost forgot about that night. I was convinced, and probably wanted to believe, that it's just sleep paralysis. I guess I was tired. I am doing my rounds again, and after weeks of ignoring the 23rd floor and swiftly getting in and out as fast as I can, I decide to walk around the offices. I'm allowed to, as long as I'm not like flashing pictures or stealing. 23rd floor folks also always tell us guards we are welcome to snacks, which is great, but of course, the office I'm allowed free snacks from is the very floor that scares the shit out of me. It was just one night, and I doubt this one floor is haunted. I decide to face my goddamn fears and just see what's up, maybe grab said snack. Oh shit, not too scary actually, there's someone working. Aisles and aisles of cubicles, one desk with a lamp on. I walk over. Hey man, you still in here? Silence. Great. Nervously, I walk up to the desk. about 4 meters away now, just around the corner, and the lamp shuts off. As much as I don't want to, I have to fear the worst and assume that this could be an intruder. I turn my flashlight on and run around the corner. Fucking nothing. My past self really wanted to not believe. I walked right into that weird pre-bathroom powder room with the couch again, maybe wanting to believe it was all in my head. I can't get sleep paralysis if I don't even fucking sit down. Vignetting, like on film, starts to happen to me. The corners of my vision get dark, and the screaming picks up slowly. I feel my legs get weak. Absolutely the fuck not. I speed walk as fast as my legs will carry me. As much as I did not want to admit it, that floor was fucking haunted and wanted me to know and fear it. Scariest thing that ever happened to me has probably been a few episodes of my sleep paralysis. Get sleep paralysis occasionally while napping during the day at my parents' house. Used to happen in high school, but never had any kind of hallucinations. Would also happen while napping in the car. College time. Would occasionally happen when visiting parents, but started to get hallucinations. Mostly hearing white noise or other auditory hallucinations. At one point, I would hear a cacophony of voices yelling in my head. Also began to get very paranoid during these episodes. One day, nobody else is home, and I decide to nap on the couch. It starts. First the white noise, then the voices. But this time, I can hear one very distinctly. It starts saying something about, "We are already here, in disguise." Suddenly, I notice my parents' living room is gone. I'm in an old, rusty-looking room, staring at a wall. Voice tells me to turn and see what we really look like. Freaking the fuck out at this point, trying to force myself awake. I see a long, bony, inhuman hand reach in front of my face as my body seems to slowly turn towards whatever it is, or they are, since I have a feeling deep in my gut that it is not the only one. Finally force myself awake, back on my parents' couch. One of the cats is laying on top of me, purring, ready to nap. Base cat saved me from the sleep paralysis aliens. This must have happened at least 4 years ago, and I have never had sleep paralysis since. There was a locally famous abandoned building, and though none of us had ever visited it, my friends H and K and I decided to check it out as a test of courage. None of us had ever experienced ghosts or sleep paralysis, yet somehow we were all easily frightened. Without anyone suggesting it explicitly, we all agreed to visit during the day, partially due to the rumors of local delinquents frequenting the area at night. Apparently, this place had once been part of a vacation village, but now it was entirely swallowed up by wild vegetation. While the surrounding buildings had long been demolished, leaving behind only empty foundations, the one ruin still stood mysteriously intact. Wondering aloud if there might be some sinister reason it remained untouched, we parked our car and trudged through the thick underbrush for a few hundred meters before the ruin finally came into view. The building was larger and far more decrepit than I had ever imagined. The windows were all shattered, graffiti-covered walls, and part of the roof had collapsed. If we had come at night, I doubt we would have dared to enter. Its foreboding appearance alone would have stopped us. But under the bright summer sun, accompanied by the loud sound of a reassuring chorus of crickets, it did not seem particularly scary. At first glance, it was your typical abandoned building. Furniture was scattered and broken, hinting at past grandeur, likely a beautiful place once upon a time. Figuring we might as well explore, we started upstairs. However, after noticing several holes in the floor, probably caused by previous visitors falling through, we quickly abandoned the upper floor. Sorry for being cowards. Carefully testing each step, we explored the first floor instead. Despite the mess, it was clear that whoever owned this place was quite wealthy. Even the decayed sofa and china cabinets looked expensive. Everything was perfectly ordinary until H shouted suddenly, startling us. Turning around, we saw that he had stepped through a weak floorboard. K and I laughed uncontrollably as H cautiously freed his foot, then curiously peered into the hole he had created. By now I was hungry and growing tired of the gloomy atmosphere of the abandoned house. "Let's get out of here before someone gets hurt," I said to H, but he did not move. Instead, he took out a small, pensed flashlight from his pocket and began shining it into the hole. "What's down there?" K asked, peering over. H mumbled distractedly. H, what is that? Is that a room? Well, yes, definitely a room. Suddenly he was silent. What's wrong? Did you find something? K asked. H did not respond. He just stood rigidly staring into the hole. Initially I thought he was joking, just trying to scare us, but when I approached him, I saw how heavily he was sweating. His body trembled uncontrollably, drool dripping from his mouth. I shook him, shouting, "Hey, snap out of it," but there was no reaction. Suddenly, his trembling worsened, and he made a choking, strangled noise, as if an invisible hand gripped his throat. His eyes rolled back, foam bubbling from his mouth. Then from deep inside the hole, we heard faint whispering. "This is bad. We need to leave now," Kay shouted, grabbing H and slinging him over his shoulder. Both of us were pale with terror, but we carefully but quickly navigated back through the ruin, feeling that the exit was impossibly far. An overwhelming sense of dread surged from behind. Something unseen was drawing nearer, and I nearly burst into tears from the fear. As we stumbled outside, the previously deafening cicadas fell eerily silent. We sprinted wildly through the thick brush back to our car, and as we drove down the mountain towards town, H finally regained consciousness, sobbing uncontrollably, repeatedly begging for help and crying, "I'm so cold." We instinctively headed straight into a nearby temple instead of a hospital. It just felt right. The temple priest told us to never speak of what happened there, so I will leave out the details, but thankfully, H recovered fully. Only once, trembling and sobbing, did H describe what he had seen. Looking down through the hole, he had seen a basement strewn with countless tiny animal bones, probably rats. As he swept his flashlight around, something darted through the beam, paralyzing him instantly. Slowly, this thing crept back into the beam of light. Its emaciated body was deathly pale, its gender impossible to determine, hair thin and patchy. It murmured something incomprehensibly as it moved, its movements unnaturally jerky and slow. Finally, it raised its head, revealing a wrinkled face with tightly closed eyes. Those eyes opened slowly, revealing no whites or pupils, only two terrifyingly solid crimson orbs, like clots of fresh blood. The creature fixed H with an expression of pure hatred, and instantly he felt himself choking, unable to breathe. After that, he remembered nothing. Kay and I never saw it ourselves, but the memory of that whispering voice remains vivid in our heads. 4 years have passed since then, and nothing strange has happened to Kay or me. However, H still occasionally visits the temple, haunted by the lingering stare of whatever was living in that basement. Neighbour to north has lots of cattle. Hear/feel cattle running. Distinct noise/feeling when hooves trampling ground. Hear it getting louder. Turn to the northwest corner of land. Lots of trees. Little gap between the northern hills and western hills. Waiting for cows to come running through small gap. See giant dog-like animal bolt out of bushes in the gap right at me. Barely time to even stand all the way up with goats in hand before it reaches the fence. It's almost as tall as the fence, which is about 5.5 feet tall itself. It looks ugly as fuck. Really dirty dark fur. Looks like a Great Dane fucked a coyote. It starts growling, barking, snarling at me through the fence. Could have probably gone over the fence easily if it wanted to. Was taught when dealing with mountain lions and coyotes/dogs to try and scare them off rather than run. Otherwise, it triggers the animal's hunting instinct. Start slamming fist on washer machine I had been sitting on, yelling at it and making myself appear bigger. No weapons on me, because never needed to carry one on our land before. Stand off for a few minutes. It starts heading east again. Stand there for a moment, then remember that the fence is weak to the east. Book it back to house, holding baby goat like a football. Get into house. Dad makes it a rule we can't go outside after dark without being armed. Since then, have not seen it. But 2 months ago, something ate our golden retriever, and I doubt it was a group of coyotes, and the mountain lions don't stray from the lakes or rivers that far. So we assumed it had to be whatever the fuck it was that tried to eat me. My dad says sometimes, when he waters the trees in the twilight hours, he feels watched. Okay, I've got a short one. Not that scary, but still strange. Live in central CA, out in the country. Me, my dad, and my brother are going in the hills to go shoot. Follow our family friends out to a new shooting spot that they like. All the hills are owned by Bureau of Land Management, so you will occasionally see rangers. Go way further into foothills than we normally go. About 15 miles in, see an old man about 50 yards off the dirt road. He is really skinny, full white beard, overalls, looks like a prospector. He's just digging a hole next to a really shitty looking RV. He looks up and sees us and stops digging. Don't think much of it, and keep driving about 5 more miles till we get to the spot. Have a good day of shooting and fucking around. Driving back, about 150 yards from where the old man was, we pass a ranger driving the other way. As we round the corner, we see the old man standing right next to the road with his shovel. Makes eye contact and puts his finger to his lips. The fuck? Follows us with his head as we drive by, still with his fingers to his lips. My brother and I nope the fuck out. The driver somehow does not see this, so we keep driving, and the rest of the day is uneventful. Story is pretty boring, but still, it was easily the creepiest thing I have ever seen in my life.